Very good morning, students. Before getting to today's session, let us see what are the topics we have covered in the last sessions. We have started a new chapter called as constructors and destructors. In that, we have covered many topics like what is constructors, need of constructors, rules of constructors with a syntax with an example. And we also seen that types of constructors. In the types of constructors, we have finished a default constructors with an example, and also we have seen a features of constructors. And next type was parameterized constructors, and we also seen that how to invoke a parameterized constructors. In that, we have seen the first one is explicitly call. Now we'll discuss about the implicitly call. Let us start our session today. Implicit call. Implicit call is the method of calling the constructor implicitly, is also called as shorthand method. If you want to initialize a field of class with your own value, if you want to initialize a field of class with your own value, then use a parameterized constructors. In a parameterized constructor, to invoke, we are going to use a second method, that is implicit call. Implicit call is a function calling which is made by the compiler automatically, without without the user interface, whereas explicit call is made by the user using a specific type of coding. This is a major difference between explicit as well as your implicit. The implicit call is made by automatically, but whereas explicit call is made by using a specific type of code. With the regard of a special member functions, you can call a destructors or assigning operator explicitly, while constructor cannot be called. Constructor cannot be called explicitly. They call are implicit and is a part of creating a new object. It is a part of creating a new object. A major point is, in this method, the declaration of an object followed by an argument list enclosed with a parenthesis. The lists are enclosed with a parenthesis. Once you go ahead with the example, you can clearly understand what is implicit call. Here we have an example for a implicit call. This is a simple program. How we are going to initialize a implicit call. Our implicit call, which is being made by giving our own values within a parenthesis. Here we have called using an implicit call. The definition tells you that this method, which is using to pass your own value using a parenthesis with an open and close bracket, and 10 and 20 which is being passed as an argument within a parenthesis, we call this as an implicit call. And here we have a program to just accept a value, passing a value by using an implicit call. Here I have a class called as a num. Num is a class. In that class, I have a two data members, that is A and B, which is going to accept the two values. And I have a function, member function, which is to be having display. The member function, which is to be having a displaying of a two values. And I also have created a one constructor with a two arguments, or a two parameters, using a parameters. Now let us go to the main program. In a main program, I have created a one object called as an object 1. Once I use a constructor, once an object is created, automatically it is invoked. 10 and 20, which is being passed to the m value was 10 and n value was 20. Now m value was 10, which is being copied to the a. Now a value was 10 and n value which is being passed, the second value was 20. The 20 which is being passed to the n. 20 is which is being passed to the n, and then n value is being copied to the b. Now, and again I have created one more object called as an object 2, second object 2, and I have passed two values by using an implicit call, that is 40 as well as 50, 40 as well as 50. Now, the second object which shows a m value as 40 and n value as 50, n value as 50, m value as 40 and n value is 50. The first object value was 10 and 20. Now, the object is being accessed, the member function which is being accessed by an object 1 display. Object 1 dot display. Once it is being displayed, it is going to display that a is equals to a value. The first object value is a value is 10. And second value of b is 20. Second value of b is 20. The output will come as a is equals to 10 and b is equals to 20. Once you access the second object, that is object 2 dot display, it is going to display you the second object value, that is a is equals to 40 and b is equals to 40. Here you people have to clearly observe the concept here, that is we have using implicit call by using a parenthesis, that is within a bracket the num is a class name followed by an object 1. Object 1 is nothing but the object, and I have used the implicit call, that is using a parenthesis. Within a parenthesis I have assigned my own value, that is 10 and 20, and second object implicit call by using a 40 and 50. This is a concept how we are going to pass the value to the function by using a implicit call. Here we have the third method of invoking a parameterized constructors. The first one was explicit call, implicit call, and the third one is the initializing of an object during a declaration with assignment operator. Declaration with assignment operator. Here, this method is used for the constructors with exactly one argument. Once you use any argument with only one argument or any one value, then this assignment operator is used. In this method, declaration is followed by the assignment operator. The declaration is followed by the assignment operator, that is nothing but a equal sign, and the value to by initialize, and value to be initialized will come again. This method is used for the constructor with exactly one argument. The method is used for with exactly one argument. In this method, declaration is followed by the assignment operator. The declaration is followed by the assignment operator and the value to be initialized. Let us see the example for this declaring with the assigning operator. Before going to this example of initializing an object using an assignment operator, we'll just have a revise of the previous two types, that is explicit call as well as implicit call. When you talk about explicit call, when you talk about the explicit call, the object is being followed by the assignment operator followed by the constructor name, and argument list was enclosed by the parenthesis. Will come again. In an explicit call, the object followed by the assignment operator and followed by the constructor name, and the argument is enclosed in a parenthesis in the explicit call. Whereas in an implicit call, the object is followed by the arguments. Object is followed by the arguments by using a enclosed parenthesis. But whereas the assignment operator is used, only one, you are going to use only one argument by using a assignment operator. Now, here we have a small example of using a assignment operator. Where is that assignment operator in this program? In the sense, I have created an object 1 is equals to 100. This assigning a single value, we tell that is a object is using assignment operator. This is also a small program example for this topic. which is going to accept a single value, using a assignment operator. I have created a two object. That is object 1 and object 2, and also uh, used a method by using a assignment operator. Object 1 is equals to 100. The equal indicates the assignment operator, and object 1 which has been passed a value of 100, and also have created object 2 by using assignment operator 200. This type of a method we tell that it is a assignment operator. Now I have created a class called as a num. I already told you that this is a program to accept a single value and display a single value. In that I have created a int as a data member. A is a data member. In a public, I have created a constructor called as a num, which accepts a single argument. Now, let us go for the main program. In a main program, once an object is created, that is nothing but object 1 is equals to 100, the automatically the constructor invokes. The m value was 100 now, and m value is being passed to the a. Now the object 1 value is 100, the m value which is being passed to the 100, and m value is also passed a value to the a. Now a value is 100. Once I created a second object, that is object 2. Once I created object 2, the 200 is being passed to the object 2. Once an object is created, the second object value is 200. And I have called a member function. Called as a display. Now I'm going to access a display by using an object1.display. Then the display function is invoked. Once a display function is invoked, it is going to print me as 100. And once I access a object2 display, it is going to display me as 200. I think that students clearly understood this concept by using a assignment operator. Let us move on to the next topic. Our next topic is very important topic, that is copy constructors. A copy constructor is a parameterized constructor using which one object can be copied to the another object. A copy constructor is a parameterized constructor using which one object can be copied to the another object. When is a user defined copy constructor is needed? When user defined copy constructor is needed, in the sense, if we don't define our own copy constructor, the C++ compiler creates a default copy constructors. A C++ compiler creates a default copy constructors for each class, which does a member-wise copy between the object. The compiler creates a copy constructor, works finely in a general. A compiler creates a copy constructor, work fine in a general. We need to define our own copy constructor only if an object has pointer or any runtime allocation of a resource. The object has pointers or any runtime allocations of resource like file handling or network connections, etc. Now we will see that copy constructors are used in the following situation, where the copy constructors are used when to initialize an object with the values of already existing object. To initialize an object with a value of already existing object. When object must be returned as function values. The objects must be returned as function values. To state an object as by value parameter parameters of a function. To state object as by value parameters of a functions. We'll come again. What is copy constructors? Copy constructor is a parameterized constructors using which one object can be copied to the another object. And now we will see that where you are going to use the copy constructor, in which situation you are going to use it. The first situation is to initialize an object with a value of already existing object. To initialize, I'll come again, to initialize an object with a value of already existing object. When object must be returned as function values. When object must be returned as function value. To state an object as by value parameters of a functions. Let us see still more situations where your copy constructor is used. A copy constructor can accept a single argument of reference to the same class type. The copy constructor can accept a single argument of reference to a same class type. The arguments must be passed as constant reference type. The argument must be passed as constant reference type. Now we'll see a general syntax of copy constructors. Here I have created a class is a keyword followed by a class name. Class is a keyword followed by a class name. Public, I have created a copy constructor under public access specifier. A class name with an argument which the argument should be passed a class name followed by the ampersand with a variable or a value, and whatever the body which is being created, that should be enclosed with a open and close flower bracket and close a class. This is how the general syntax of a copy constructors. Here we have an example for a copy constructors. In this example, I have created a class called as a number. Number is a class name, and I have the access specifier as a public. And I have created a constructor called as number, and I have passed a single argument. In a constructor, and I have passed a value of n to a. This is a simple example for a copy constructor, so we have taken only a class. Here we have number with an argument. This we call as normal constructors. Now I have created a copy constructor. As we have seen in a general syntax, how to create a copy constructors. In this copy constructor, a number is a class name followed by a class name with a ampersand with a variable. We also tell that a reference passed by reference. I am going to pass a reference of a x. That is nothing but I am going to pass a reference of a variable x. Now, how to copy it? Here I have created a is equals to x dot a. Is equals to x dot a. See out copy constructor. Now whatever the value which is being passed in from the main program, that will be held by the x, and it is going to pass the reference of X value to the A. Here we call this as a copy constructor. Let us see the full example for the copy constructors in the next slide. Here we have to note that a copy constructor is not invoked explicitly. A copy constructor is not invoked explicitly. Copy constructor is invoked automatically when a new object is created. When it is being created, it is going to invoke a new object is created, and to already existing object in a declaration statement itself. Let us see again. Copy constructor is invoked automatically when a new object is created. Already existing object in a declared statement itself. Already declared statement itself. Now, for an example, X is a class name and have created an object called as an A. X is a class name and I have created an object called as an A1. This we tell that it is a default constructor. This we tell that it is a default constructor. Now I'm going to create a one more object called as an X A2. Now, the value which is being passed for the A1, the value which is being passed by the A1 will be copied to the A2, will be copied to the A2. This statement we tell that as a copy constructor, and I'm going to display A.1. The above example shows that use of copy constructor to create a new object, which was a new object A2, using a existing object as A1. Let us see again. First I have created a A1 object, telling that, let us think that X is a class name. X is a class name. I have already created a object called as an A1. Secondly, I'm going to create a new object. Telling that X is a class name followed by A2. Whatever the value which is being passed from the main program for A1, it is going to hold into the A1. Now, the A1 value is copied to the A2. That is nothing but already existing object value is being copied to the new object. For an example, we'll go ahead. When I pass a value of A1 is equals to 10 value is being passed to the A1. Then I have created a new object called as an A2. After creating a new object called as an A2, I'm going to pass a value 10 to the A2. Now what is the value of A2? The value of A2 is 10. This is how you're going to create a copy constructors. The third point, when an object is new, is declared, and existing object is passed as a parameter to it in the declaration, then also the copy constructor is invoked. Will come again. When a new object is declared, an existing object is passing a parameter to it in the declaration, then also the copy constructor is invoked. Let us see the example. X is my class name, A1 is an object, which I'm been passing a value, telling that the 100 and the 200. How many values I'm going to pass? I'm going to pass 100 and 200. That is, first value is 100, second value is 200. Once you pass a value within a parenthesis, we call that as parameterized constructor. That is nothing but parameterized constructor. Once it has been passing a value, we tell that it is a parameter constructor. Once I create a new object, telling that A2, whatever the value which is being passed to the A1, that value 100 and 200 copies to the A2. 100 and 200 is being copied to the A2. A1 will act as the parameters of 100 and 200. The copy constructor is invoked for an object A2 within a A1 as a parameter. When an object is passed to a function using pass by value, that is nothing but without an ampersand, we tell that it is a pass by value. Copy constructor is automatically called when an object is passed to a function using a pass by value. Pass by value is this 100 and 200. Pass by value, copy constructor is invoked automatically. Copy constructor is automatically called. A copy constructor is invoked when an object returns a value. Again, we'll see all the 3 points. The third point is when an object is declared, an existing object is passed as a parameter to it in the declaration. Then also copy constructor is invoked. The example that X is a class followed by A1 is an object which I pass a parameterized constructors. The values are 100 and 200. And I am creating a new object called as an A2. New object as an A2. A1 is passed as a parameter. To the newly created object called as an A2. When an object is passed to a function using pass by value, the copy constructor is automatically called. A copy constructor is invoked when an object returns a value. Here we have one more example for a copy constructors. This program is for using a copy constructors. We are going to find the given number factorial of a given number using a constructors. Let us see here. Void main. My main program is void main. I have declared a variable called as an n. N is a variable where it is going to hold the given number, to which number it should find a factorial. So enter the number C in n. For an example, I have taken a number called as in 5. The n value is 5. Now I'm going to create an object. A copy is a class name. Now copy object. Obj is an object. I have created a obj as an object and I have been passed the n value, whatever the n value you have entered. My n value is 5. Once an object is created, it is going to pass the value for the constructor. Let us go to the class copy. In the class copy, I have initialized a data member as a var, and I have created a one constructor called as a copy. Int temp, where the value which is being passed by n which holds a value of 5. The 5 which is being passed to the temp. Now what is the temp value? Temp value is 5. Now I'm going to copy the value of temp. Temp value is 5. Now the value of temp is nothing but 5. 5 is copied to the var. Next, again the control goes to the main program, telling that I'm going to create a one more object cpy, that is copy cpy, using assignment operator, telling that obj, what is the obj value to us? Obj value to us to be a 5. The obj which is going to hold a 5. The 5 which is being calculated to the CPY. The object which holds a n value, the n value is 5. So object obj is also the value which has been 5, which is copied to CPY. It is copied to CPY. Cout, once an object is created, again it is going to go, the value of obj is passed to the CPY. CPY passes a value as 5 to the temp. Again it is going to the where, the second object value where is being stored into the where. And Cout before copying it. Cout before copying it. Before copying it, I'm going to go ahead with n value. N value is 5. The factor is equals to obj. I'm going to access the member functions called as a calculate. Member function called as a calculate. Once I calculate, once a member function is called calculate, it goes to the class copy and it invokes the calculate member function. Once the calculate member function calculates int fact I, the fact is nothing but which holds a factorial value, and I, which is to be, holds a value of 1 for the for loop. For I is equals to 1, I dot I less than or equal to where. What is the where value? Where value is 5. The 5, that is nothing but I lesser than I equal to 5, I plus plus the factorial which is going to run fact is equals to I fact into I. It is going to calculate until unless the for loop condition satisfies. Once it satisfies, it gives back the calculation of 5 again to the main program, calling as the before copying n factorial is equals to 120. 120 will be printed. Again, once you see the second statement, that is Cout after copying, n factorial is equals to, I'm going to access a second value which is to be CPY which holds a value of an object. Object is nothing but obj which already holds a value of 5. The 5, that is copy dot calculate. Once you calculate, it calculates again the same format. It calculates for the value of 5 and returns as after copying it n factorial is equals to 120. These two statements will be displayed onto the output screen. This is an example for the copy constructors. After seeing the copy constructors, we'll move on to the constructor overloading. A constructor overloading is a class as a two or more constructor functions with the same name but different signatures. We can also tell that different signatures or a different arguments are called as constructor overloading. Depending upon the type of an argument, the constructor will be invoked automatically by the compiler to initialize an object. Will come again. A class as two or more constructor functions with the same name but a different signature or an argument are called as constructor overloading. Second point is depending upon the argument, the constructor will be invoked automatically by the compiler to initialize an object. This we called as constructor overloading. See what is constructor overloading. Let us move on to the example. Let us move on to the example to find the simple interest by using a constructor overloading. Here I have created two constructors, that is nothing but simple interest. See here we have created one constructor without an argument and one more constructor with an argument having a three arguments, that is float x, float y and float z. Here having a same name of a constructor, that is simple interest as well as simple interest. We have two functions as with the same name but with a different arguments. First constructor which is not having any arguments, and the second constructor which is having a three arguments, Let us go to the main program and see that how it is going to work. Void main and simple interest. A simple interest is a class name. class name, and I have created a two object. I'm going to create a two object telling that si. Once an object is created, automatically the constructor will execute. Once you observe that si1, si1 which is not having any arguments. See, it just I have created as si1 is an object. Si1 is an object. Within a function there is no any argument. There is no any argument. It is understood that if you have never passed any value, it is understood that it is a default constructor. Default value. Once the object is created, the constructor checks which constructor is not having any value. Which constructor is not having any value? The first constructor which is not having any value, and the body never contains any functions, so the value is not being passed. It just checks and return back. And again I'm going to create a second object. I'm going to create a second object, that is si2. In that I have passed three values. In that I have passed three values, that is 10,000.0, 12.0, 2.0. So I have passed three values. First it goes checks to the class simple interest. In a class simple interest, whether we have any constructors. Yes, we have constructors, that is simple interest, and it checks the first constructor which is not having any argument. So it moves on to the second constructor. It moves on to the second constructor and checks the arguments, whether we have a three value arguments. Yes, float x, float y, float z. These are three arguments which you have it into the second constructor, which pass the first value for the 10,000 to the x, 12 to the y, and 2 to the z. And it passes a value. Again, the x value is being copied to the p, y value which is being copied to the r, z value which is being copied to the t. Then what is the value of p? P value is 10,000, r value is 12.0, and t value is 2.0. Once it has been passed, again it goes back to the main program. Then again I'm going to access the second object. I'm going to access the second object, that is si2 dot compute. Compute si is my member function. Compute si is my member function. Once a member function is called, it's automatically it goes to the class called as a simple interest. In that it is going to check whether we have a member function called as a compute si. Yes, we have the function called as a compute si. Compute si. See out simple interest is, it is going to calculate that p into r into t divided by 100. Once it is been calculated, it is going to print me that the value of 2400 it will be printed. This is how the output is being seen. After seeing the constructor overloader, just we'll move on to the destructors. What is this destructor? A destructor is a special member function. Destructor is a special member function that is executed when an object of the class is destroyed. Will come again. A destructor is a special member function that is executed when an object of a class is destroyed. Destroying means deallocating all the resource such as memory that was allocated for the object by the constructor. Deallocating means that is deallocating all this resource such as memories that was allocated for an object by the constructor. It will have like a constructor the name same as the class. How you people have the constructor name as a class name? Same. The name of a destructor is also a same as a class. A small change in that, we have a tilde symbol in before the destructor. We used to have a tilde symbol in our destructors. That's will come again. That is, a destructor is a special member function that is executed when an object of a class is destroyed. Destroying means that is nothing but where you're going to deallocate all the resource such as memories that was allocated for the object by the constructors. It will have the same name as a constructor, that is nothing but the same name as a class where a constructor has, but we used to have a symbol in front of the destructor name. That symbol is called as a tilde symbol. Now after seeing the definitions, let us go to the syntax of destructors. So we have a general syntax. Here we have a general syntax for the destructors. See here, class name followed by the access specifier, private and data variable methods. Under the public, you have created a one of the constructor that is class name. But here we have a tilde symbol in the front of class name. This we call that as a destructor. This we call as a destructors. We'll go for a small example. Class counter. Counter is my class name. I have private int counter. In a public, I have created a one constructor telling that counter, and I have been passing a value to the counter. I'm going to pass a value to the counter is equals to 0. Now for the counter variable, the object counter which holds a memory. Once a destructor is called, automatically it deallocates all the memories which was been allocated for the object called as a counter. Now we'll see that what are the characteristics of a destructors. Here we have a characteristics of destructors. The first characteristics is the destructor name is same as that of class. Destructor name is same as that of class. The first character must be in a tilde symbol. The first character should be into the front of the first character. The tilde symbol should be present. Destructor do not have a return value. Destructor do not have a return value. Destructor can never return any value. This is a very important point. Destructor do not have any return value. Destructor cannot never returns any value. They take no arguments. Therefore the destructor cannot be overloaded. The most common use of the destructor is to deallocate memory that was allotted for the object by the constructor. Also they are declared under the public. Destructor cannot be inherited. Let us come again. The characteristics of destructors are the destructor name is same as that of class. The first character must be a tilde symbol. Destructor do not have a return value. Destructor can never return a value. They take no arguments. Therefore the destructor cannot be overloaded. The most common use of destructor is to deallocate memory that was allocated for the object by the constructor. The most common use for the destructor is to allocate memory that was allotted for the object by the constructor. Also they are declared under the public. Destructor cannot be inherited. These are the some characteristics of destructors. Now we'll move on to the example for the destructors. We have a small example to illustrate the use of destructors. Once you go ahead with this example, that is, in this example, just it is going to show you that how it is going to execute. Here I have a class called as a num. In a private, I have a data member. data member as an X, and I have also declared the constructor as num and a member function as a display. And also here, let us observe here, I also declared a distractor. How to find this function as a distractor instance? By seeing the symbol tilde symbol, the function which is being followed by the symbol called as a tilde symbol and the destructor name. And this all member function as well as the constructors is being written outside the class. It's been written outside the class. Now let us go for the main program. I have created one object as A. Once an object is created, you people know that automatically the constructor is going to execute. Being executed. So once a is created, the constructor is invoked. In that, it is going to display that in constructor. It is going to be printed, and also the x value is being passed. Once an object is created, the constructor has been executed, and then I'm going to access the member function by using an object called as an a.display. Once an a.display is invoked, it goes for the class called as a num and searches for the member function called as a display. Once it sees that display is to be outside the class, it goes to the outside the class into a member function called as a display. It is going to display the value of x. The x which is being passed value in the constructor is 100. It is going to print you the second line of your output telling that value of x is equals to 100. And now once you observe into main program, we never accessed any distractors. It automatically, once all the member functions and the constructor works gets over, the distractor deallocates the object, deallocates the memory which is allocated by the constructor to the object. It is deallocates the memory, and the third execution takes place as cout in distractors. I hope that these after having the example, you hope that you people can understand what is an distractors. Before winding up this session, we'll see that what are the topics we have covered. We have covered implicity call, declaration with an assignment operator with an example, copy constructor with an example, constructor overloading with an example, and also we have seen what is a distractors. These are the topics which we have covered today, and the last topic of this chapter is distractors. Thank you. We'll see you into the next session. Before ending the sessions, let us see what are the assignment questions for this session. Explain copy constructor with an example. Copy constructors with an example. What is constructor overloading? Given example. The third question is, what is distractors? Given example. These are the three questions for the assignments. Let us see into the next session. Thank you.